The age-old question, IELTS or OET. Everyone seems to get so hung up on these two exams, so I thought, you know what, let's just talk it out. If this is the first time you're checking out our channel, welcome. Basically what we do is we run a website that's totally free known as roadtok.com, and it will explain the ins and outs about everything related to the United Kingdom and what it takes for you to work as a doctor in the NHS. So if you've not already, please stalk us on all of our social media. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Hi guys, my name is Ibreez and I currently work as a doctor in the NHS. So, when do you even need IELTS or OET? If you're someone who's thinking about taking PLAB, you will need this to prove your English proficiency before you can even take PLAB 1. So you'll be thinking, all right, either I'll take IELTS or either I'll take OET, and that's where people usually, start thinking, oh great, now which ones should I choose? For those of you who are opting for a postgraduate or a sponsored route for registration, you will actually only need to think about it right when you apply for GMC registration, because you will need to prove your English proficiency for registration itself. Also remember, if any of you are looking to apply for eligibility for the UK Foundation program, you will need that as part of your eligibility application. So it's very important to think about which exam is best for you. So let's get a little bit more in depth. The IELTS. What is IELTS? It's probably the most common one out there. A lot of us have heard of it at different stages in our life. But basically what happens is there are 4 modules. You've got to be assessed on your reading, your writing, your speaking, and your listening. And what they're looking to do is basically see, do you meet the criteria, qualifications, the requirements for whatever they've laid out. Either it's for PLAB, GMC registration, for the foundation program, for a standalone, and do you actually meet up to what standard they are looking for? Where most of us get freaked out with IELTS is, well, which IELTS do we book? There's so many versions. All you have to worry about is booking the academic version of IELTS. Yes, previously people were like, do UKVI, because then later on when you apply for your visa to come to work in the UK, you don't have to take IELTS all over again. But now you don't have to worry about that. Just don't think about it. Book academic IELTS. That's all. Straightforward. In terms of the actual criteria and what you would need, for the most part, if you're just taking it simple, you're like, fine, I need to take PLAB or get GMC registration, you need to at least get a 7 in each module and a 7.5 overall. So that means, guys, you can't just get a straight 7 in every module and get 7.5 overall. That's math. So you'll need to do a little bit better in one of the modules to kind of push it up so that at least you're at 7.5. For those of you, however, who are looking at the UK Foundation program or a standalone, you need 7.5 in each module and 7.5 overall. That's usually where people get a little stressed because they're like, oh, how am I supposed to get that extra half point? It's just a matter of practicing, guys. So when you're thinking about which one you need and what you actually need to score, remember what's applicable to you. If you're not applying for the foundation program, like I said, 7.0 across the board, but technically you need 7.5 overall then. All right. And remember, when you're taking this exam, it's the most recent IELTS that they're going to be looking at. Even if you go and get a rechecked version, if your recheck comes back after you've resat IELTS, your most valid and most recent one would actually be the rechecked version. So don't recheck and then take an exam unless you have a good amount of a buffer in between, and if you really don't think your recheck's going to be worth it. But then why, pay for a recheck in the first place? At the end of the day, IELTS tends to be more available. More people have said to us that, yeah, IELTS is pretty much easy to book in their country. They don't have to go anywhere, and it's done fairly regularly. So there is a little bit of an ease to actually booking IELTS versus OET. On top of that, IELTS tends to be considerably less expensive. I don't want to go into the semantics about the exact cost because it seems like they keep changing the cost every day anyway. You can find that on their official websites. But remember, come what may, it's going to be less expensive. Now for OET also, they're going to be looking at those same 4 modules: your reading, your speaking, your listening, and your writing. The thing about OET is they have a numerical and they have an alphabetical scoring system. So you might see some people saying, oh, 400, I got 380, I got this, I got that. Or some people will be saying, oh, I got a B, I got a C. Pretty much for GMC registration, what they're looking for is you get a B across the board and they're happy with that. You don't have to really worry about it. Whatever the numerical equivalent is that in that range for B, you'd be set and you'd be fine. If you're applying, however, for the foundation program or for standalone, it needs to be 400, like must across the board. Okay? The other thing you have to remember about OET, which doesn't exist for IELTS, but you might actually still not have much of a change, is OET, you can resit certain subsets. So if you didn't do very well on your speaking, but you did fine in everything else, you're going to be like, that's fine, I'll just redo my speaking part and then submit it to GMC and voila. No, they won't accept it. It has to be in one sitting. And again, it has to be the most recent sitting of that exam, just like with IELTS. So don't think just because there isn't availability for you to retake certain subsets rather than taking the entire exam, that it would be accepted, because it won't. OET is not as widely available as IELTS. There are a lot of people who message us and say, actually, OET is not even available in my country. I have to get a visa and go to another country to take it. So keep that in mind. And like I said before, it is a little bit more expensive than IELTS. That being said, both of the exams do currently have at-home versions, and GMC has said they will accept these at-home versions. Again, don't want to go too much into that just because it is something that's just recently come up. You can look into it on their websites. It's pretty self-explanatory. Because of the nature of IELTS and its fairly wide availability, it isn't necessarily specific to you as a doctor. Everyone will need to take IELTS at some point if they're thinking about going abroad, especially if it's, for another professional kind of qualification or degree. So your friend who's maybe going to business school, your friend who wants to be an architect, your friend who has to take some other exam, they may need to prove their English proficiency beforehand, and they've been asked to take IELTS. So when you actually take the exam, you'll realize it's fairly generic for that reason. Your listening portion, they'll have people speaking in different accents about day-to-day mundane things. Your reading, it can just be an everyday reading passage. Maybe it's a clipping from a newspaper. It's not going to be something specific to, your vocation. The same thing for your speaking. There's going to be a proctor there. You're going to have a little back to forth. There are going to be some cue cards that you have a topic that you're going to talk about. The topics can be anything. It can be about what your favorite restaurant is, what kind of food you like. And like I said before, it won't be something specific to what you do on a day-to-day basis. But for OET there's a medicine subset that you would be applying for. It has its own special little cubbyhole for OET for doctors, and that's what you're going to apply for. You're going to apply for OET medicine. So everything you do, every single module will be doused in that lovely dose of medicine-ness. So because of this medicine flavor, you'll see that the reading might be some sort of medicinal topic that you'll have to read about. The speaking portion might be you talking to a patient and having sort of discourse about whatever topic you've picked up on your cue card. Your writing, it could be that you're writing a discharge summary, and your listening could be that you're listening to some sort of a conversation, or again, something medicinally related. So sometimes people feel because OET has that medicine aspect to it, it is much easier for them to prepare and actually approach the exam because they're used to speaking English maybe in that way, or at least using English comfortably in that manner, versus IELTS where they may not be as fluent or as confident just conversationally. Now, of course, you're going to ask me, well, Ibreez, you still haven't answered the question. Which one should I take? Should I take IELTS or should I take OET? It's subjective. I can't say what's best for you because, first of all, I don't know about your fluency, your confidence, and your just general know-how in English, be it for IELTS or for OET. And when we had our GMC registration, IELTS was the only one available, so I don't even, I don't really have any experience about OET at all. What I would suggest you do is there are a lot of mocks available out there, even on their official websites for IELTS and for OET. Take a mock, or maybe two, for both exams. See how you've done. Because see, you're assessing yourself at the most basic level without you having practiced or trying to learn anything. When you look at it, you get the results for your mock, or you see what the correct answers are, see which one you did better in. And if you did better in OET, it might be easier for you to, prepare and take OET than if you didn't do so well in IELTS. But if perhaps you did better in IELTS, you might think to yourself, actually, okay, I could maybe prepare a little bit more and I'd be okay for IELTS. Don't take an exam on the simple basis that my friends are all taking OET, I should take OET, because how they're preparing or what their basis in knowledge is, it's not going to be yours unless you're totally sure you guys are all on the same playing field. I know there's a lot of talk out there that people say, IELTS will definitely fail you at least this many times for, your reading or for your speaking or for your writing or whatever. But that doesn't mean that OET is always a guaranteed pass. People fail OET just like they fail IELTS. I just feel like sometimes people hear more about IELTS just because it's more available, it's less expensive, and it's been around for a lot longer than OET. Do not take either exam lightly. They're very important for you to prepare for, just like you would be preparing for PLAB or any other exam for your registration purpose. So naturally, the next question you're going to ask me is, all right, fine, Ibreez, I'll take OET because it's more superior to IELTS. Obviously, right? You just said it covers stuff about medicine. So when I tell my future employer that I've taken OET, they're going to be like, that's the person we want to hire. Except, no, it doesn't matter. They're exactly the same in terms of acceptability, be it for your registration, be it for a job, training, whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter which one you've taken so long as you've gotten the score that they want. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm only taking OET because it's definitely going to get me brownie points, please do not take OET for that purpose. It will not get you brownie points. It'll get you the same amount of points as someone who's taken IELTS. Do not think to yourself for a second that, just like I said, just because it's medicinally related doesn't mean anything. That's just the nature of the exam, all right? If you've taken IELTS, there's no reason for you to take OET if your IELTS is still valid later on whenever you're applying for whatever. And the same holds true for OET. It's just making sure that within the validity of these exams, which is currently 2 years, but with the pandemic has been extended for some cases, you don't have to worry about taking the exam again. The long and the short of it, guys, it's up to you. Whatever exam you feel like you'll be able to prepare for best, take that exam. Whichever exam, when you've practiced or you looked at the mocks, you think, actually, this one's a little bit easier, that's the exam you should be taking. Of course, consideration for costs and availability have to be taken into account as well, but overall, it's about you and how well you think with your language experience you'd be able to do in either exam. All right? I hope you've come to a decision and that this has cleared up a lot. But until next time, please continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check out our newsletter, and we will see you around.